Hey YouTube, Time Itself here, and I'd like to spend a video talking about vehicles in Homefront. I'm going to start off with the basic roles of the vehicles and how to destroy them. And then I'm going to focus on a specific gameplay and talk about what I think needs to be done to improve vehicle balance, especially in the Battle Commander game modes. Just in case this isn't a familiar topic, here's the 30-second crash course. You can pay to spawn into a vehicle, and if a teammate joins you, they can gun. EMP grenades either thrown or launched immobilize vehicles for a short period of time. Ground vehicles, Humvees, LAVs, and tanks. Use RPGs, C4, frags, Hellfire missiles, and cluster bombs to take them out. For helicopters, use proximity rockets or guided missiles. Okay, so I did leave out some important details, but that's a good place to start. To be honest, I was really worried that since you can start the game in a Humvee, you just see them everywhere and they would just be really annoying. But it hasn't been the case, and I think they're pretty well balanced. And by that I mean just about anything can take a Humvee out. You can shoot the gunner out without too much difficulty, and it's even possible to shoot the driver out. If you can somehow time it right to get the Humvee to drive over a WP grenade, you can kill the driver and the gunner and not destroy the Humvee. Kind of interesting. And proximity rockets, while not nearly as effective as RPGs, can also be used to destroy a Humvee. Really, a Humvee's best defense is its speed, so if you do manage to hit it with an EMP grenade and stop it, it's pretty much a sitting duck. The Humvee's gun, while effective enough to get the job done and kill some people, is really more of a nuisance than anything else in my mind. The LAV is just a little bit slower, has some more armor, but the main gun can really get some work done, and you can fire it from the driver's seat. The gunner seat fires rockets, and they're really good for taking out drones and getting helicopter pilots to waste their flares. The battle tank? Well, it's a freaking tank. What are you going to do? But the second seat in the tank, well, that gun is really more useful for picking up assists than anything else. Airstrikes are an effective way of dealing with ground vehicles. The phosphorus strike will even take out Humvees, but against LAVs and tanks, you'll need to go to cluster bombs and Hellfire missiles. And of these two, Hellfires have the potential to do the most damage, but they're also the hardest to use. First, you need line of sight on your target, and while you're up in the air pretty high and that UAV, still buildings, and in this case a water tower, gets in the way, and you just have to wait. The second difficulty is that you have to guide the missile all the way down to the ground. One would think this would make it easier, but it really doesn't, because the UAV keeps moving and you have to track with it onto your vehicle that you're trying to target. And depending on where the vehicle you're trying to destroy with the Hellfire is in relation to the UAV, this could range from a non-issue to making it near impossible to get the job done. Finally, note that one Hellfire missile, half the price of the airstrike, costs more, even with penny pincher, than a Humvee would. So unless you really need the Humvee to just gone, or you just have one to waste, don't bother using the Hellfire missiles on Humvees. And then you say, well, no, just take out the Humvee, you'll get a kill anyway, and that's probably not a bad thought. But if the driver, or if you happen to have a gunner, has ejection seat, you won't get credit for killing that guy. It's not a big deal, but not necessarily a free kill if you're going for a Humvee. Helicopters, as I implied earlier, either the scout or the attack chopper. Proximity rockets bypass the missile defense, but you do have to aim them somewhat carefully, even though it's a lot easier than scoring a direct hit with an RPG. Or guided missiles, which do have to get past the missile defense, but are a whole lot easier to use. Also, you can use the EMP launcher, the assault rifle attachment, and it'll stun the chopper and kind of float around in the air, and it's a lot easier to hit, and he can't fly away while you finish the job. Guided missiles either come from the Rhino drone, or from the second gunner seat on the LAV. Or, if you've got an attack chopper, you can lock onto other helicopters with your missiles. Helicopter fights are always funny, aren't they? So, that's the story with vehicles in Homefront. Wow, that took just a little longer than I thought it would, but it kind of needed to be part of this video. Hopefully I put a link at the beginning if you wanted to skip over that. Otherwise, yeah, let's get on to the interesting part. Except I have about 3 more minutes until that comes up, so let's fast forward just a little bit. And as I go through this part, you'll notice that it's a pretty close first round, but we do manage to pull out a win. The thing is, this first round is so close that we don't have any chance to push forward to get closer to the new points, and so we're kind of disorganized as the second round starts. I think I mentioned this in a video before, but if I was back in the original spawn my team had for this game with that first set of points, and we won that round and I was way back there, I would probably just pull the pin on a grenade, cook it, kill myself, and respawn up at the new point. But as it was, I was a little bit further forward, and I decided I'd just go ahead and run, and hopefully clear out anybody who was still at those points. And what is this guy doing over here in this corner? Does he think he's being sneaky? At first I think he's up on the sign and conclude, no, there he is. What on earth do you think you're going to do over there? Okay, my team is pretty much up to the new set of points, and we've managed to take C, but the other team has a pretty significant lead on us. I'm going to go ahead and try to get to B, but chances are we're going to lose this round and end up just back to the middle, and hopefully manage to pick up a win in the third round. I understand how hopefully that's a good way to balance things out, but it seems like if you win the first round, you're so much more likely to win the game. I'll pull up the scoreboard while I'm taking B here, currently at 13-6 with 5 assists, so I'm not slacking off, but I'm not really having a great game. That's just part of having a rough first round, but you know what? We're going to turn that around right now and go ahead and crush these guys for the rest of the game. And how this happens is what I really want to talk about. I've got a teammate up in an attack helicopter, and he's raining missiles down into their spawn, and generally pushing them back and really helping out our team. Myself, as I respawn here, I'm going to go ahead and respawn myself into a battle tank. Now, I will be the first to admit that I'm not very good with this tank. I really haven't spent much time in it. But like all the other vehicles, it's got a speed boost and missile defense. So use both those as appropriate. Don't forget they're there, and don't forget to bail out of these things. Just press X on the Xbox to get out of there if you're going to get destroyed. Sure, at first I'm more dangerous to the light poles than I am to the enemies, but I figure things out. And having been on both sides of this tank fight, I really only have one conclusion. The heavy tanks are overpowered in the Battle Commander game modes. Simple reason is, at 2 and 4 stars, you immediately regenerate all of your health in the tank. Now the battle tank is a pretty serious investment, so that it's hard to destroy seems appropriate. The battle tank is the kind of thing you have to wear down RPGs, C4, airstrikes, whatever you can throw at it until the thing explodes. But if the tank gets to the next star, all of that progress is wiped out and you have to start over again. I know personally that I've on multiple occasions sunk 4 Hellfire missiles into a tank and not killed it. Part of that goes back to how hard it is to use the Hellfire missiles, but if the tank is regenerating in between your airstrikes, what are you going to do? So here I am, 1 kill away from my second star. There it is, and my tank is completely regenerated, just like new. So as you can imagine, it's entirely possible to end up spending more battle points on ordnance specifically designed to destroy tanks than it cost the guy to call in the tank in the first place. All the while, you're obviously getting destroyed by a tank, and you're not spending those battle points on something else. So here's my suggestion. Only regenerate part of the tank's health, either a fixed amount or a percentage of the health the tank has already lost. And while we're at it, let's apply that to the other vehicles too. Maybe be a little more generous with them, but they still shouldn't get a full regen at 2 and 4 stars. I'm not saying that it has too much health, it's that it gets regenerated is the problem. So Battle Commander game modes are where the problem is. In other game modes, it's probably okay. There is another small, but I think critical change I'd like to see to the tanks. I suggest lowering the camera on the tank. It's too easy for the tank to see over these fences and shipping containers. And I don't think it really is obvious how high up in the air the camera is, because watch what happens when I come forward to this bridge. My camera is all the way up there and starts clipping into the bridge, and it actually pulls me down when I'm under this overpass. Infantry can get a pretty good idea where a tank is based on the radar, and if you've got some headphones you can probably hear reasonably well where it is, even if it's on the other side of a container or a fence or a truck. But the tank can still see over that fence, and I think that's an advantage the tank really shouldn't have. That is, unless you want to put a big, constantly updating flag above the tank instead of just occasionally updating. Look at this guy. Okay, I can't shoot through the fence, because that's how low the gun is, but I still know he's there, and I know just to drive around a little further, and I probably wouldn't have seen him otherwise. Though in the end, it didn't really matter in that case, as a different teammate in another tank killed him before I could, but you get the idea. So here I go again with the regen, one more kill, tank in the yellow, tank in the green, instantly back to full health. And now at 4 stars is the passive vehicle regeneration. It may look like I'm on fire, but I'm actually in great shape here. At any rate, as I've been rambling on, we lost the second round somewhat on purpose. If we'd really pushed, we might have been able to get it, but there was no point really because we've got all these vehicles. I'm pretty confident we can win the third round, so let's just go ahead and keep using the vehicles and destroying these guys. Now I'll point out that they did manage to take out the first and third attack choppers that we called in, but otherwise all our vehicles are still up. So they've got people trying to take out the helicopters, and I'm taking damage, so they are trying to get rid of me too, they're just not able to do it. The first difficulty for them is that they have to decide pretty much if they're going to go anti-tank or anti-helicopter. It's not necessarily exclusive, but there is a choice to be made there. Also, it's hard for the team to focus on taking down one vehicle. Their attention is getting split up a lot of ways, especially now that we've got 5-star vehicles all over the place. They've got multiple markers, they can't tell which one to focus on, and death just keeps raining down on them. I'm not sure that I would go so far as to say that you should limit a team's vehicles to less than the map's limit, but being able to call in a whole bunch of vehicles in rapid succession is probably one of the factors that really helped us just start rolling this team after about midway through the second round. Because normally what a team would do would concentrate on a vehicle if it got called in, destroy it, and then move on to another one if that got called in. But if you've got a whole bunch to deal with at the same time, and not everyone on the team is focusing on that, and in ground control, you need people to focus on the points too, it's a problem. It's like they say, if one is good, more is better. And you can see myself with 5 stars, our other tank over on my right with 5 stars, and 2 choppers in the air, both with 5 stars. And then, almost as an afterthought, there's a 1-star buzzard floating around, and my teammate, who had a 5-star parrot, decided to go ahead and spend some of his battle points and call in a 3rd tank for us. I don't care how good anyone is, stopping this at this point is damn near impossible, so this ends up just being a crushing victory. So if a team can get a lot of vehicles out there, the other team making a comeback at that point is pretty hard. It's not that making a comeback is absolutely impossible, or I'm saying that it should be easy. Just at some point, you've got so much ground to make up, well, how's it going to happen? I hope you enjoyed the video. Please feel free to leave a comment, and as always, thanks for watching.
Good God, that was brutal. Rape, rape,